his spiritual form because our material eyes and senses cannot conceive of a spiritual form. We cannot even see the spiritual form of excuse me. We cannot wait a minute. Okay. We cannot even see the spiritual form of the individual soul. When a man dies, we cannot see how the spiritual form leaves the body. That is the defect of our material senses. In order to be seen by our material senses, the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts a favorable form, which is called Archa Vigraha. This Archa Vigraha, sometimes called the Archa incarnation, is not different from him, meaning Krishna. Just as the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts various incarnations, he takes on forms made out of matter, clay, wood, metal, and jewels. There are many Shastric injunctions which give instructions for carving forms of the Lord. These forms are not material. If God is all pervading, then he is also in the material elements. There is no doubt about it. But the atheists think otherwise. Although they preach that everything is God, when they go in the temple and see the form of the Lord, they deny that he is God. According to their own theory, everything is God. Then why is the deity not God? Actually, they have no conception of God. The devotee's vision, however, is different. Their vision is smeared with love of God. As soon as they see the Lord in his different forms, the devotees become saturated with love, for they do not find any difference between the Lord and his form in the temple. As to the atheists, the smiling face of the deity in the temple is beheld by the devotees as transcendental and spiritual, and decoration of the body of the Lord is very much appreciated by the devotees. It is the duty of the spiritual master to teach how to decorate the deity in the temple, how to cleanse the temple, and how to worship the deity. There are different procedures and different rules and regulations which are followed in the temple of Vishnu. And devotees go there and see the deity, the Vigraha, and spiritually enjoy the form because all of the deities are benevolent. The devotees express their minds before the deity, and in many instances, the deity also gives answers. But one must be a very elevated devotee in order to be able to speak with the Supreme Lord. Sometimes the Lord informs the devotee through dreams. These exchanges of feelings between the deity and the devotee are not understandable by atheists, but actually the devotee enjoys them. Kapila Muni is explaining how the devotees see the decorated body and face of the deity and how they speak with him in devotional service. Wow, this is an exceptional purport. Uh, I know this one devotee, every time the uh, deity would have every time he would have darshan with the deity of Krishna, he'd start talking with him as if, uh, and then he would stop for a moment and look like he was listening to what Krishna was saying back to him, and then he would say something, uh, and as if he was having a long discussion with the Lord. So, well, was it factual? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Uh, he could be faking the whole thing, but anyway, let's give him the benefit of the doubt for the time being. Uh, that's why it says here, the devotees express their minds before the deity, and in many instances, the deity also gives answers. But one must be a very elevated devotee in order to be able to speak with the Supreme Lord. Sometimes the Lord informs the devotee through dreams. These exchanges of feelings between the deity and the devotee are not understandable by atheists, but actually the devotee enjoys them. Kapila Muni is explaining how the devotees see the decorated body and face of the deity and how they speak with him in devotional service. So let's look at the verse again. Uh, it says, "Oh, my mother, my devotees always see the smiling face of my form with eyes like the rising morning sun. They like to see my various transcendental forms, which are all benevolent, and they also talk favorably with me." Okay, so this verse is uh, validating that it's possible to speak with the deity of the Lord, and it also implies that the Lord can answer the devotee. Okay, now it's something that we can't really, let's say, fake or assume that we have the ability to speak with the deity and be answered by the deity. But it is possible because it's saying that it's possible here in this verse. So uh, should we all of a sudden now everybody has darshan of the deity and they start talking with the deity and they're acting as if the deity is answering them. I actually saw this. There's one devotee that was doing this. Now, was it actually true or not? Uh, well, uh, it's possible because it says here it's possible in this verse. Uh, uh, so it says, "Oh, my mother, my devotees always see the smiling face of my form with eyes like the rising morning sun. They like to see my various transcendental forms, which are all benevolent, and they also talk favorably with me." So that means it's possible. Um, uh, let's see. Um, Second, still trying to find something. Okay, it says in this purport, the smiling face of the deity in the temple is beheld by the devotees as transcendental and spiritual. And the decoration of the body of the Lord is very much appreciated by the devotees. It is the duty of the spiritual master to teach how to decorate the deity in the temple, how to cleanse the temple, and how to worship the deity. There are different procedures and rules and regulations which are followed in temples of Vishnu. And devotees go there and see the deity, the Vigraha, meaning the form of the deity, and spiritually enjoy the form because all of the deities are benevolent. The devotees express their minds before the deity. And in many instances, the deity also gives answers. Okay, so here Prabhupada is saying that it's possible to speak with the deity, and also the deity can speak back to the devotee. But one must be a very elevated devotee in order to be able to speak with the Supreme Lord. Sometimes the Lord informs the devotee through dreams. So there it is. Uh, it is possible that devotees have spiritual dreams where they're actually interacting with the deity. These exchanges of feeling between the deity and the devotee are not understandable by atheists, but actually the devotee enjoys them. Kapila Muni is explaining how the devotees see the decorated body and face of the deity and how they speak with him in devotional service. All right, so here Prabhupada's indicating that it's possible to speak to the deity and the deity can answer you. So, uh, is it possible to fake such a thing? Yes, it is. But it is also possible to uh, realistically talk with the deity, and the deity can answer the devotee. Oh, and it's also possible to dream, to have dreams about the deity. And uh, uh, the Lord, it says here, sometimes the Lord informs the deity through dreams. These exchanges of feelings between the deity and the devotee are not understandable by atheists, but actually the devotee enjoys them. Kapila Muni is explaining how the devotees see the decorated body and face of the deity and how they speak with him in devotional service. Well, there it is. That means it's possible, and we cannot deny it. But uh, sometimes people fake it, uh, but other times it is possible to have discussions with the deity, and the deity can answer uh, our uh, let's say, discussions that can actually take place. Okay, is it something that can be faked? Yes, possible that it can be faked, but it's also possible that it's true. So, because it says that here, right in the verse. So, uh, we have to be careful. All uh, there's always a possibility a devotee, can read this and want to uh, manifest themselves as a very, very advanced devotee who is having discussions with Krishna every day. There was one devotee like that. And every day he would come and have what seemed to be some discussions with the deity. And then he would loudly proclaim uh, what the deity told him, you know. about what was going to happen in the near future. And he uh, he doesn't do that anymore, but he used to do that in the past. And he would say things that seemed to be, valid, things that would happen in the future. What I say, it seems to be valid. Uh, or sometimes uh, we would uh, wait to see if what he was saying was actually going true or not. And most of the time, it wasn't. But if you say a lot of different things, eventually some things actually happen. Uh, so uh, anyway, this devotee eventually stopped doing that because uh, if one is not sincerely doing that, uh, Krishna will punish them. So we have to be very careful. And there are things that should be kept, let's say, quiet. Uh, one should not advertise themselves as being some type of a medium of uh, discussion with the Lord. And we're not saying it's not possible. It is possible because it's saying it here in this verse. But we should not try and imitate or fakely think fakely um, have so-called discussions with the Lord. Uh, these are very highly uh, personal things. If you're actually uh, so advanced that you can have discussions with the Lord, you should keep that private. It should not be done so that you can have fame and be you know considered a a um, a person who has an exclusive relationship with the Lord. Everyone can talk to the deity. There's no doubt about that. And in some cases, the deity has spoken back. There are proof of some instances like that. But the devotees that can experience things like that are very, very rare, and they're actually pure devotees, and they don't advertise it. Otherwise, uh, that can you can have a whole, let's say, a number of people that begin to pretend that they have these discussions with the Lord, and they can pretend that they got answers back from the Lord. Uh, so we have to be very careful. Uh, Even in other religions, uh, there are people like that who have so-called seances of discussions with God. Is it true? Well, this verse says it's possible, but most of the time it's not true. Uh, there are some very clever people that can pretend that such things are happening, and they do it for fame and also for profit, material profit. But that does not preclude the possibility that there can be bona fide people that are actually conversing with the Lord, and the Lord is talking back with them. So let's leave it open, this issue. That's why it says here the exchanges of feelings between the deity and the devotee are not understandable by atheists, but actually the devotee enjoys them. Kapila Muni is explaining how the devotees see the decorated body and face of the deity and how they speak with him in devotional service. Okay, let me read the verse itself. Kapila Muni is saying, "Oh, my mother, my devotees always see the smiling face of my form, with eyes like the rising morning sun. They like to see my various transcendental forms, which are all benevolent, and they also talk favorably with me." And so there it is. It is possible that, but it doesn't say in the verse that the deity can speak back to the devotee. However, in the purport, Prabhupada says, actually, in our present state, it is not possible to see God in his spiritual form because our material eyes and senses cannot conceive of a spiritual form. We cannot even see the spiritual form of the individual soul. When a man dies, we cannot see how the spiritual form leaves the body. That is the defect of our material senses. In order to be seen by our material senses, the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts a favorable form which is called Archa Vigraha, meaning form of the deity. This Archa Vigraha, sometimes called the Archa incarnation, is not different from him, just as the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts various incarnations. He takes on forms made out of matter, clay, wood, metal, and jewels. There are many Shastric injunctions which give instructions for carving forms of the Lord. These forms are not material. If God is all pervading, then he is also in the material elements. There is no doubt about it. But the atheists think otherwise. Although they preach that everything is God, when they go to the temple and see the form of the Lord, they deny that he is God. According to their own theory, everything is God. Then why is the deity not God? Actually, they have no conception of God. The devotee's vision, however, is different. Their vision is smeared with love of God. As soon as they see the Lord in the different forms, as soon as they see the Lord in his different forms, the devotees become saturated with love, for they do not find any difference between the Lord and his form in the temple, as do the atheists. The smiling face of the deity in the temple is beheld by the devotees as transcendental and spiritual. And the decoration of the body of the Lord is very much appreciated by the devotees. It is a duty of the spiritual master to teach how to decorate the deity in the temple, how to cleanse the temple, and how to worship the deity. There are different procedures and rules and regulations which are followed in temples of Vishnu. And devotees go there and see the deity, the Vigraha, meaning the spiritual form of the Lord, and spiritually enjoy the form because all of the deities are benevolent. The devotees express their minds before the deity, and in many instances, the deity also gives answers. Okay, so there it is, that statement. It is possible that devotees can have discussions with the deity, and the deity, answers them back. But one must be a very elevated devotee in order to be able to speak with the Supreme Lord. Sometimes the Lord informs the devotee through dreams. These exchanges of feelings between the deity and the devotee are not understandable by atheists, but actually the devotee enjoys them. Kapila Muni is explaining how the devotees see the decorated body and face of the deity and how they speak with him in devotional service. Okay, so it is possible. I know one devotee who claimed that he was having discussions directly with Krishna, and then he would say things like what was going to happen in the future because Krishna told him. That devotee was very, let's put it like this, eccentric. Eccentric is a word that implies that someone has a very, let's say, uh, a very, uh, let's say, a very different way of perceiving things than normal people do. Now, is it possible? Yes, because it's saying it here in this verse. There are some devotees who can actually have discussions with Krishna. Um, and Prabhupada says these exchanges of feelings between the deity and the devotee are not understandable by atheists, but actually the devotee enjoys them. Kapila Muni is explaining how the devotees see the decorated body and face of the deity and how they speak with him in devotional service. Okay, so we cannot deny that it's possible. Here it's valid, and Prabhupada is validating that it is possible. Uh, have I ever had discussions with the deity? No, I can tell you right now. But that doesn't mean it's not possible because here it's saying it is possible. So I bow down to those devotees that are so advanced that they are having discussions with the deity. But we cannot deny it because there are examples of it. Just like the boy that had so much faith in the deity that he asked the deity to please follow him and go from one place to another. Let's see if I can remember that pastime. Um, he was uh, challenged by these, uh, let's say, uh, people who were not, actually they challenged him that if he could make the deity go from one place to another, then they would uh, uh, recognize him as a genuine, let's say, pundit, right? And
Is it the Sakshi Gopal?
yeah, Sakshi Gopal. Yes, exactly. Yes. And the devotee went and actually spoke to the deity and more or less begged him, please, you come and uh, let me. Uh, uh, okay, so there was a boy. He helped this elderly man have darshan of the deity. And the elderly man, when he had darshan of the deity, he promised the boy that his daughter would be given to him in marriage.
Correct.
When the elderly man went back with the boy to meet his sons and to arrange a wedding, the sons objected, and because the boy was not a someone who was very rich or famous, and they said that he tricked the father to uh, have the daughter married to him, and then the boy objected. Why? Because the father had made a vow in front of the deity that he would give his daughter in marriage to this boy that helped him in his uh, uh, travels of having a darshan of the deity. So, in order for the father not to become a liar in front of the deity, because he promised him in front of the deity that he could marry his daughter.
Mhm.
And when he went back, and then his sons heard that he was going to give this devotee, this young boy actually, in marriage with their young sister, they claimed that the father was uh, tricked by this boy, and they refused to, acknowledge that the father ever made a statement like that. Now, the father became more or less stunned by the behavior of his son, and he didn't know what to do. Uh, but the boy, in order that the father not be a liar, because he made a vow in front of the deities, he insisted that he should be married with this girl. Not that he was trying to take advantage of anything, but he didn't want the father to be caught and to perform an act that was a lie. So the boys made a lot of, let's say, negative statements, and then they said, if you can prove that the deity made this such uh, a statement, then we will, accept that our father, whatever our father is saying, is true. So the boy goes back and talks to the deity and tells him what the situation is. And the deity said, "Okay, so you start walking back to where everybody is, and I will follow you, but don't turn back and look at me." Um, so the boy starts walking uh, back to the where the family is, and he promises not to look behind him to see the Lord following him. But the boy knows that the deity is following him because he can hear the uh, uh, the bells on his feet. The as he's walking. So, but actually, after a long period of walking, the boy can't help himself. He turns around to look at the deity, and then the deity stops very close to where the family is, and the deity, of course, is made of stone, right? It's a famous deity of the Lord, and he stops, and it's very close to where he's supposed to go, and then uh, so then people come, villagers come, and they see that this deity, which was in a long distance away from them, now has come very close to their to where they are, and they realize this boy somehow or other spoke to the deity, and the deity was able to walk and talk to him, and then eventually it becomes validated because the deity was very heavy, very, very heavy. And there was no way that the boy could have carried the deity uh, a long distance. And so it became validated that the boy spoke to the deity. The deity told him, "You just walk straight, but don't turn around to see me. If you turn around to see me, I will stop walking." And so uh, this story, what is it? Shakti Gopal. Yeah.
Very wonderful pastime.
Yeah. Yeah. There is proof that one can talk with the deity, and the deity is not just stone. The deity can walk and talk and have this transcendental relationship with the pure devotee. Okay, then some people say, well, this whole story is about the boy's desire to marry this daughter, this girl. But no, it's not. It's a sincere, uh, example of pure intentions. The boy was not, uh, you know, doing all this in order to marry the girl. The boy did not want the father to become a liar, because the father made a vow in the holy place that he would give his daughter in marriage. And the sons refused. And they said that the boy had drugged the father in some way or other, tricked the father. And then the father became stunned by the adamant behavior of his sons. So, in order to save the father from becoming a liar, the boy went back to where the deity was and begged the deity, please follow me. I don't want this man, the father, to be a liar and suffer. And the deity said, okay, well, you begin to walk back to where the family is, but don't look back at me. You'll hear me walking behind you, but don't look at me. So at one point, when they get close to where they're supposed to go, the boy just can't help himself. He turns around and looks at the deity, and at that point, the deity stops. But it's very close to where they're supposed to go, and then people come from the village, and they see this, very heavy, very beautiful deity, and all of a sudden they realized the boy was able to speak with the deity and to save the father from being a liar. And so it's the whole history of Shakti Gopal. So it's a wonderful pastime of the Lord. So it is possible to talk to the deity. It is possible the deity can move from one place to another on its own. And it proves that the deity is not just stone. If the deity is worshipped properly, there can be interaction and there can be movement and so forth. Uh, but of course, these are exceptional devotees who can have such a relationship. So here it says, one must be a very elevated devotee in order to be able to speak with the Supreme Lord. Sometimes the Lord informs the devotee through a dream. These exchanges of feelings between the deity and the devotee are not understandable by atheists, but actually the devotee enjoys them. Kapila Muni is explaining how the devotees see the decorated body and face of the deity and how they speak with him in devotional service. Okay, so Prabhupada is validating that this is possible. And there are examples of it in the previous times. So if it happened in the past, it can happen in the present also. But one should not uh, pretend it has to be factual. Okay, are there any questions?
Maharaj, that also increases the faith, right? It also increases the faith when you,
Can speak with the deity.
at least maybe not like Sakshi Gopal, but sometimes even you kind of, there is a reciprocation which helps you with the faith, uh, bonding the faith further and further. But the question is like, there are some people who claim that they are talking and cheating. So how do you validate? Like,
Well, that's what happened in the situation Shakti Gopal. The boy went back, spoke to the deity, to please come. So the old man who promised that he would give his daughter to this
right.
boy. So uh, the boy goes back and speaks to the deity and says, please come with me. I don't want this man to be a liar, because it's serious. And the deity agreed.
Mm.
So um, it depends on the purity of the devotee's, uh, you know, mind and actions and desire. So it is possible that the deity can walk and talk. And there are some examples of it in the history, in the Vedic history. So we cannot deny it. Now, atheists won't believe such a thing. But devotees can believe it because it's right there in our Shastra. So the deity is not just a stone. Deity is real and it can do many supernatural things in the association of pure devotees. So we should not deny this. The relationship between a disciple and guru is special, and a relationship between the disciple and the deity is special. So we cannot deny the possibility of being able to converse and speak with the deity, or the deity can actually walk and talk, right? Because there's examples of it in the past. So if it happened in the past, it can happen in the present also. But we should not imitate or declare things like that. But we should have faith that it's possible. Having faith in the statements of the Shastra is proof that one is a devotee. When one is a skeptic and thinks, "Oh, this is just a story, or this is just a made-up history that devotees have made," then the supernatural aspect of the pastime is destroyed. It's just like, Jesus is crucified, then his dead body is put into a cave, and there's a big stone that covers the entrance to the cave. And then a couple of days later, that big stone has been moved, and Jesus' body is not in the cave. And then for 40 days, people see Jesus walking and talking, right? And then eventually he returns back to the Godhead. Now, should we believe this or should we not believe this? People who are actually Christians, they believe it and they swear by it. And they maintain that there was, it was validated by the apostles of the Lord. And other people also saw the Lord after he was crucified and died. These are questions of faith. Atheists don't have faith, especially in supernatural, let's say, experiences. But the devotees have faith, and based on that faith, now 2,000 years after Jesus appeared on the earth, they're still talking about the Lord, and they have absolute faith. They have deities of the Lord's temples. So they do not think that the deity of the Lord in the temple is a fake thing. And they actually worship the deity of the Lord in the Catholic Church. So just like we worship deities in our temple. Now, if you go into a Muslim temple, there are no deities. You go into a Baha'i temple, there are no deities. And it's a little bit shocking because you go into a Baha'i temple and you look around, there's nothing. You go into a Muslim, uh, you know, uh,
Mosque.
mosque, there's nothing. There's just a book, right? The Sikhs also they're worshiping a book, right? The so there are different types of understanding of worship. Uh, so we worship the book and we worship the deity. Right? Hare Krishna. All glories to Prabhupada. Okay. So from now on, we will have complete faith that Krishna is present in his Archa Vigraha. And he's all able to talk and walk, and he's not a piece of rock or or wood or whatever. He has an actual form that is transcendental. But he doesn't reveal himself to the atheists. He only reveals himself to the devotees. Okay. These exchanges of feelings between the deity and the devotee are not understandable by atheists, but actually the devotee enjoys them. Kapila Muni is explaining how the devotees see the decorated body and face of the deity and how they speak with him in devotional service. So there it is. That's validation. This is shastric evidence, and it's up to us to accept it as true. Hare Krishna. Okay, so now we go to text 36. Upon seeing the charming forms of the Lord, smiling and attractive, and hearing his very pleasing words, the pure devotee almost loses all other consciousness. His senses are freed from all other engagements, and he becomes absorbed in devotional service. Thus, in spite of his unwillingness, he attains liberation without separate endeavor. It's a very important verse. And let's read the purport and see what it says. The purport says, there are three divisions of devotees: first class, second class, and third class. Even the third class devotees are liberated souls. It is explained in this verse that although they do not have knowledge, simply by seeing the beautiful decoration of the deity in the temple, the devotee is absorbed in thought of him and loses all other consciousness. Simply by fixing oneself in Krishna consciousness, engaging the senses in the service of the Lord, one is imperceptibly liberated. Wow, what a great statement. One is imperceptibly liberated. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Simply by discharging uncontaminated devotional service as prescribed in Scripture, one becomes equal to Brahman, meaning the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. This means that the living entity in his original state is Brahman, meaning spiritual, because he is part and parcel of the Supreme Brahman. But simply because of his forgetfulness of his real nature as an eternal servitor of the Lord, he is overwhelmed and captured by Maya. His forgetfulness of his real constitutional position is Maya, or illusory. Otherwise, he is eternally Brahman, or the truth. When one is trained to become conscious of his position, he understands that he is the servitor of the Lord. Brahman refers to a state of self-realization. Even the third-class devotee who is not advanced in knowledge of the absolute truth, but simply offers obeisances with great devotion, thinks of the Lord, sees the Lord in the temple, and brings forth flowers and fruits to offer to the deity, becomes imperceptibly liberated. Notice the word imperceptibly, meaning you don't see it for what it is, but it is, because the devotee has faith. Shraddha Yan Vita, with great devotion, the devotees offer worshipful respects and paraphernalia to the deity. The deity of Radha and Krishna, Lakshmi Narayana, and Rama and Sita are very attractive to devotees, so much so that when they see the statue decorated in the temple of the Lord, they become fully absorbed in thought of the Lord. That is the state of liberation. In other words, it is confirmed herewith that even a third-class devotee is in the transcendental position above those who are trying for liberation by speculation or by other methods. Even great impersonalists like Sukadev Goswami and the four Kumaras were attracted by the beauty of the deities in the temple and by the decorations and by the aroma of tulsi offered to the deity, and they became devotees. Even though they were in the liberated state, instead of remaining impersonalists, let me read that again. Even though they were in the liberated state, instead of remaining impersonalists, they were attracted by the beauty of the Lord and became devotees. Here, the word vilasa is very important. Vilasa refers to the activities or pastimes of the Lord. It is a prescribed duty in temple worship that not only should one visit the temple to see the deity nicely decorated, but at the same time, he should hear the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, or some similar literature, which is regularly recited in the temple. It is the system in Vrindavan that in every temple there is recitation of the Shastras. Even third-class devotees who have no literary knowledge or no time to read Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita get the opportunity to hear about the pastimes of the Lord. In this way, their minds may remain always absorbed in the thought of the Lord, his form, his activities, and his transcendental nature. This state of Krishna consciousness is a liberated state. Lord Chaitanya therefore recommended 5 important processes in the discharge of devotional service. 1, to chant the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 2, to associate with devotees and serve them as far as possible. 3, to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. 4, to see the decorated temple and the deity, and if possible, 5, to live in a place like Vrindavan or Mathura. These 5 items alone can help a devotee achieve the highest perfectional stage. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita and here in the Srimad Bhagavatam. That third-class devotees can also imperceptibly achieve liberation is accepted in all Vedic literatures. Well, this is the gospel truth. We should have faith in this. And if you go to a place like Vrindavan, every day there is recitation of the glories of the Lord. You can hear it in different temples. And especially in the early morning period, you can go from one temple to another, and there's a recitation going on of the glories of the Lord. They're reading the Shastras, uh, and people come. They might not understand what's being said because it's all in Sanskrit, but they sit down and they listen to it, and they have faith that they're hearing the Shastras spoken to them. And it's a very beautiful when you go to Vrindavan and you start doing parikram, and you go from one temple to another temple, and each temple they're chanting Hare Krishna, and there's recitation going on of the Lord's pastimes. It's very beautiful. It's let's say experience, and there are thousands of devotees going from one temple to another temple to have darshan and also to circumambulate Vrindavan, which takes a couple. It takes about a couple hours to do that. And there's hundreds of devotees walking and then chanting, and to be in that atmosphere is very special. It really increases your faith in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, any questions?
I think there is yeah, there are. Sankarshan Prabhu, you want to go first?
Well, years ago, I read a book put out about the Nrsinga deity in Mayapur, and there were many accounts devotees made of the experiences they had with the deity. I don't remember. I remember maybe a couple of them, but one was a devotee was in an accident, and their body was thrown in the air like several feet, and before they hit the ground, the Nrsinga deity caught them, and they weren't injured at all. Another one was the deity kept telling one devotee to tell the pujari something, and for some reason they hesitated or they didn't do it. And on the third time, the Nrsinga deity told that devotee to tell the pujari something, that they did it. And then the pujari related, yeah, this I should have done this or whatever it was. But anyway, yeah, I think it was compiled into a book. I don't know how many stories there were, but they seem very authentic stories. Yeah, histories of the modern day histories of devotees with the Nrsinga deity there in Mayapur.
Yeah, we can't deny it. There is validation of these experiences. So, if it happened in the past, it can happen in the present. If it never happened in the past, then it's possible it never happens in the present. But if it happened in the past, it can happen in the present also, and the future. So we should have that faith. If Jesus resurrected from the dead, spent 40 days talking to his disciples and walking around, and then went back to Godhead, why should we deny it? You know. So having faith in bona fide statements of the Shastra is very important in the life of a devotee. Even though so many people have doubts or even criticize us as sentimentalists, etc., we should ignore that and keep firm faith in the statements of the Vaishnava acharyas. And so the Vaishnava acharyas, they're giving, let's say, bona fide validation that it's possible to speak to the deity, and it's possible that the deity can walk and talk. So we should not deny it. We should accept it as the truth, and it should be a foundational uh, belief of our spiritual life. So here it says that to see the decorated temple and the deity, and if possible, to live in a place like Vrindavan or Mathura. In other words, these 5 items alone can help a devotee achieve the highest perfectional stage. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita and here in the Srimad Bhagavatam. That third class devotees can also imperceptibly achieve liberation is accepted in all Vedic literatures. All right, so the opportunity to hear about the Lord and every day is very important. And in this verse, in this purport, it says that even third-class devotees who have no literary knowledge or no time to read Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita get the opportunity to hear about the pastimes of the Lord. In this way, their minds may remain always absorbed in the thought of the Lord, his form, his activities, and his transcendental nature. This state of Krishna consciousness is a liberated state. Lord Chaitanya therefore recommended 5 important processes in the discharge of devotional service. 1, to chant the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 2, to associate with devotees and serve them as far as possible. 3, to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. 4, to see the decorated temple and the deity, and, if possible, 5, to live in a place like Vrindavan or Mathura. These 5 items alone can help a devotee achieve the highest perfectional stage. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita and here in Srimad Bhagavatam. That third-class devotees can also imperceptibly achieve liberation is accepted in all Vedic literatures. Okay, so this is the gospel truth. And 5 important processes in the discharge of devotional service are recommended. And number 1 is to chant the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. And this is what we do every day. And it's better to do it in company of devotees. You can also chant, in the privacy of your home, but it's even more, let's say, beneficial to chant in the association of devotees and hear about Krishna's transcendental pastimes. That's as we are doing every day. Haribol, all words to Srila Prabhupada. Jai. So have a very good day. And remember at least one thing that we discussed today. Right? Just as an example, it says that Lord Chaitanya recommended 5 important processes in the discharge of devotional service. Chant the holy names of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Associate with devotees and serve them as far as possible. 3, to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. 4, to see the decorated temple and the deity, and, if possible, to live in a place like Vrindavan or Mathura. So we're trying to do this every day. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Please have a good day. And always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. If you follow those 2 principles or those 2 points, you will always be Krishna conscious. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Very simple. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna.
So anybody has any other question?